Hey, I'm Kevin, and this is HFX by Bike, a channel all about getting around Halifax by bike. Except, sometimes I talk about something that I'm largely immune from in my daily travels: traffic. Ensuring that people are able to get around the city reasonably quickly is broadly the responsibility of local government. It's also something that, at least in North America, relatively few cities have been able to guarantee once they reach even modest sizes. In today's video, I'll try to figure out just how bad Halifax's traffic problems are, how we got here, and what can be done about it. Before we start, let's play a game. This is one of the southbound through lanes on Robie Street. I want you to try to guess how many vehicles per hour it can move through the Willow Tree intersection during morning rush hour. If you want, feel free to lock in your guess in the comments and try to see how close you were later in the video. The data backs up people's subjective experience on traffic in Halifax. Despite being a small city of just 500,000 people, Halifax manages to come in third in TomTom's 2024 ranking of Canadian cities with the worst traffic. We even managed to snag 9th place across all of North America. According to the index, the average time to travel 10 kilometers through the city is almost 24 minutes, and roughly 30% of all travel time is being spent in traffic. It's not just drivers. Traffic can also make it difficult for emergency services to get around the city. This topic has been covered more extensively in larger cities with worse traffic like Los Angeles. That data tends to show that fire truck response times are substantially slower during morning and evening peak hours. Halifax Regional Fire and Emergency has begun expressing concerns about the effects of traffic on their ability to reach emergency sites in a timely manner. They've even taken to posting video of the entrance of Station 2 on University Avenue being outright blocked by cars with nowhere to go. I can't resist a good data question, so I requested the response times for the two stations most embedded into downtown Halifax, Stations 2 and 3. I linked the response times to the date and time of the incident and checked to see if the response times tended to be longer during certain times of day. And they were. It's not as staggering a difference as in the LA data, but during the afternoon rush hour period, incident response times from the two urban firehouses were about 10% worse than they were during other times of day. Some specific trips were much worse, with calls from Station 3 to Gottingen being roughly 32% slower during rush hour. Halifax appears to be in the early stages of escalating traffic congestion, interfering with core safety functions. Of course, for the fire response time data, I only know broadly the direction of travel for the fire trucks, so I can't get very granular with my analysis. Luckily, we have one final group of road users whose location and path of travel can be known all throughout the day: buses. The location of each of the city's buses is tracked in real time and made available to the public so that people can know where their bus is as opposed to where it's supposed to be according to the schedule. By mapping out when each bus on a line reaches specific stops along its route, we can see how much delay gets added between those stops. Here's Route 7A heading north along Robie Street between South and Quinpool. This 1.3 kilometer section of route adds small amounts of delay throughout the day, before exploding to adding nearly 10 minutes of delay during the afternoon rush hour period. That's not total delay, that's just the extra delay from this one section of road. So yeah, it's fair to say that Halifax is a bit of a traffic problem. At its core, traffic congestion is the result of too many vehicles trying to occupy the same space at the same time. People tend to think about this stuff in pretty abstract terms, so let's break down just how many cars can realistically move along Halifax's roads. Each traffic lane on a road can handle roughly 1,900 vehicles per hour. This baseline assumption varies slightly from city to city, but Halifax uses 1,900 per hour, so I'll be sticking with that. That 1,900 is under free flow conditions, as though you are driving along a highway or a road that always has green lights. Once you add in troublesome things like intersections, that number becomes limited by the amount of signal time granted to the lane at the intersection. If the signal time is split 50-50 between the two intersecting roads, the functional capacity is going to dip below 950 vehicles per hour once you account for things like yellow signal time and however long it takes the first driver in line to perceive and act on the signal change. So that 950 is really the best case scenario. The basic reason that traffic hasn't been fixed so far is that local politicians and transportation planners face pretty horrible trade-offs when trying to solve traffic, at least if you're thinking about it in conventional terms. In Halifax, as with most cities on the continent, almost everyone gets around by driving, and so often can't realistically imagine any other way of doing things. Let's suppose we take that mandate and, returning to our hypothetical road, add some extra lanes to expand capacity and improve traffic flow. In a rural or even suburban area, this probably seems like an obvious solution. The land surrounding the existing road might not be developed, and from a cold-blooded accounting perspective, is cheap to buy and probably isn't generating much revenue for the city anyways. Of course, we mostly don't have a rural or suburban traffic crisis. We have severe bottlenecks in the urban core that trap people in traffic. When we look around what surrounds the most congested roads, it's not empty fields or a handful of single-family homes, it's multi-million-dollar housing and commercial developments. It's the destinations that people are driving to. This gets expressed in the cost of buying the land needed to add more lanes. Just acquiring the land for the roughly 900 meters of extra lane space for the Robie Street widening is estimated to cost the city $64 million, just for a few blocks. Projects covering any significant distance or even applying the same logic to multiple roads in the urban core are literally beyond the city's physical capacity. Worse than that, it mostly wouldn't work. As more lanes are added to the road, the intersections have to become more complex to handle the conflicting movements. We siphon off signal time to do things like facilitate left turns and allow pedestrians to cross. A consequence is that while adding a lane increases total vehicle capacity at the intersection, each additional lane becomes less and less productive as the complexity increases. Let's go back to our guessing game from the start. This is your last chance to lock in your guess. I recorded traffic at the Willow Tree intersection for an hour, and the greatest number of vehicles coming off the lane in an individual light cycle was 16, although 15 was more typical. Scaling that maximum to a full hour with the same light cycle timing structure nets us a whopping 320 vehicles per hour at one of the busiest intersections in the urban core. This is roughly in line with the most recent traffic studies at the same intersection. For context, the people in those 320 cars could fit comfortably in just 2 articulated buses, which could cross on the same signal and still have about 30 seconds left over of signal time. So the answer to why the city doesn't just add more lanes to congested roads to fix traffic is because it can't afford to, and even if it could, it mostly wouldn't work anyways. Traffic isn't inevitable though. Remember the graph showing the catastrophic rush hour delays for the bus? What if I said the same bus could move through the same rush hour traffic without any delays? Here's the 7A again in open traffic, and here's the same line at the same time of day when it hits the 1.5 kilometer long section between Quinpool and Russell Street in the north end that has a separated bus lane. Not only is there no delay, it actually makes up time. The solution to traffic is giving people the option to get to where they're going without being in it. If people can't beat traffic, then their best option is to become part of it. For short and medium distance trips, that means things like bike infrastructure. For medium to longer distance trips, that means transit priority corridors. As a bonus, bus lanes and extra wide bike lanes can act as fast travel lanes for emergency services in a way that congested traffic lanes never really will be able to. The two approaches for getting people out of traffic are to create dedicated lanes on existing rights-of-way for higher capacity modes, or to make existing rights-of-way that will never be able to move a lot of vehicles and reduce the amount of low-capacity traffic along them. For instance, bus gates at select intersections would allow rapid movement by transit and bikes along corridors that will never be able to move that many cars, such as North Street, Windsor, or Gottingen. This system still allows cars to access all of the properties along the roads while creating a high-speed transit priority network through the urban core. Local governments owe the people living in cities the ability to get around quickly. At smaller population levels, that mostly takes the form of making it easier to drive, but as cities grow, the priority has to shift towards making it easier for people not to drive. Cars literally can't scale to serve large population clusters. We can't fix traffic with 300 vehicle per hour lane upgrades. A stepping stool can help you reach a higher shelf, but you can't get to the moon by stacking plastic stools on top of one another. But that's been the default transportation planning strategy for most of North America for most of the last century, Halifax included. So if you ever wonder why you're stuck in traffic, it's because nobody's ever bothered to design a system that lets you do anything else. I want to give a special thank you to Mark Burgess at Halifax Fire for making their urban response time data available to me. Also, thank you to municipal data magician Dan Peterson for formatting the city's real-time transit data in a way that I could use it. You can find more of his work at danp.net, which I've linked in the description. And to you, thanks for watching through to the end of the video. Let me know in the comments how you think the city should solve its steadily worsening traffic nightmare. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos all about getting around Halifax by bike. That's it for this one. As always, thanks for watching and see you next time.